My name is Aaron Smith-Levin, and I was a Scientologist for about 29 years.
My name is Claire Headley, and I was a Scientologist for 30 years.
My name is Marc Headley, and I was a Scientologist for 25 years.
My name is Mike Rinda. I was a Scientologist for 46 years.
What's the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
SPTV is what Scientology is so afraid of. Welcome, Marc Headley.
Thank you. Thank you. I got a different setup. I'm in a different place.
I like your new situation. I like your red lights. I like your I didn't ask you where you are right now, but we'll save that for off the stream.
Yeah. I'm on the East Coast. I'll give you that.
Yes, East Coast. So we're finally in the same time zone.
Yes.
And we figured this was a good opportunity to not only just test Marc's new setup, but to show you guys a Scientology commercial from 1997 that Jason Beghe does the voiceover, and Marc Headley shot this commercial.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Let's check this thing out. We'll go like this. Look at that evil psychiatrist.
Yes, totally.
All right, so let's watch the whole thing through, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right, and you guys in the chat, just let me know when I hit play on this bad boy that you guys can hear it okay, because I'm having some funky stuff going on my end. Here we go.
Life came from mud. An accidental chemical reaction. There is no purpose to life.
Oh, I know why.
Some people bring new meaning to the words lower life form. Find out what life really is in Scientology: A New Slant on Life by L. Ron Hubbard. It'll open your eyes, and you're going to like what you see.
There you go. Whatever you did, it got louder at the end. You figure out how to make it louder?
Interesting. Yeah, well, I did a little thing.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just get a good, get that guy's face there nice and big. So we can keep him as you and I talk. Oh, where'd you go? I lost Mr. Marc.
There I am.
Yeah, screw it. We'll just go back to normal view. Okay. So what is the deal? What's the background story on this commercial here?
We shot a whole bunch of these. It was like a whole series of them. And we had the guy do different things, and it's just some old fuddy-duddy actor dude from Hollywood. I want to say we shot those. We had a studio back in the 90s before we built this giant studio at Golden Era Productions. We used to shoot at an Air Force base in it's like near Ontario. It was called the Norton Air Force Base, and it was actually the building that. Oh, it says Marc is very quiet. Ugh, you gotta be kidding me! You can't.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that better?
I can hear you just fine. I've never noticed audio levels going up or down on StreamYard.
Okay.
So,
anyway, we had we were shooting at this Air Force base in the middle of the desert, and we shot with this old dude, and we just had him say all different things, and we shot a bunch of different ones. I bet you if you look on the internet, there's not only different ones with that guy, but there's also kind of similar black and white weird. And whenever you just reminded me of this when we shot it, but whenever we shot a psychiatrist, he always wore a lab coat, and we always gave him a German accent. That was like no matter what movie or TV show that we shot, that is what it was. It was always a lab coat and a German accent. Was every single psychiatrist was always the same.
Yeah, it was very important to Hubbard to always associate Germany with psychiatry, with suppression.
Yeah, and it was always Germany is a suppressive country. That's what in Scientology. That's what they say.
Yeah. So that guy was not a Scientologist who's acting in the commercial?
No, I don't think so. Most of the, excuse me. Oh, there we go. Most of the actors that we started shooting with near the end, like the more and more we shot, it was non-Scientologist, because we kept having to re-edit things or cut Scientologists that we did shoot with. They would become a declared suppressive, and then we'd have to go back and reshoot or re-edit around them. So the more we did it, the more it just became we got to use non-Scientologists, otherwise we're just going to have to endlessly re-edit these things. And Jason, at that time in the mid 90s, Jason Beghe, they wanted to use him for, David Miscavige loved Jason Beghe. So if he could use him for a VO or use him as an actor for anything, we tried to use Jason Beghe as much as we could.
Yeah. So Artemis Blue is asking, is this for real? The commercial does look like satire.
Yeah, well, I was going to just say, a lot of things that we shot at the base were like, is that supposed to be, how's this supposed to be? You know, like, is this supposed to be really cheesy? Because it's really cheesy. But yeah, the things that L. Ron Hubbard, a lot of the films that we shot, this is a video, like ad for TV. So we could crank, like 20 of these out in a week.
So something like this that does look like satire, how does something like this get made? Like, what is the production process? What's the workflow on getting something like this done?
Usually, we have if there's going to be a new release, like if a new book is coming out or a new tape series, L. Ron Hubbard lectures on cassettes is coming out, or any of these things, we would do. We would shoot TV ads to kind of push that, and then sometimes there would be films or videos that would have to go along with it. So if it was something like that. I think the person that wrote these was a guy by the name of Steve Hall, who was in marketing. And he would get told, hey, you got to write some ads. We're going to come out with this campaign or something like that. Or if it was a Dianetics campaign, then that would be like, hey, Jeff Hawkins, you got to write some ads. And we would, he would write it. And then Dave Miscavige would have to approve. This is the craziest thing too. When you hear these legal things where David Miscavige is not involved in the day-to-day act. That's just laughable if you've worked at the base, because he has to approve every single thing. Like he has to. So for something like this, that's listed in my book, but he would have to approve the script for the ad. So like the thing that we're going to use to even write it. And in some cases, if it was a film, like a technical training film, he would have to approve the costumes. He would have to approve the talent, like the actors that are going to play what parts. He'd have to approve the set design. He'd have to approve the shots. Like we would shoot film every day, and he would go and watch them in a theater. No matter where he was, we would have to develop the film and send it to him at that location. So if he was in Florida, in the Flag Auditorium, in the balcony, in the Flag Auditorium, in the balcony, there was a film projector, so David Miscavige could watch the dailies that we shot at Golden Era Productions. And they also had film projectors in other locations where he was, so he could watch what we were shooting. And he would, so he'd have to approve the daily shots. He'd have to approve the edit, the music score, the music mix down, the final mix down, the final edit, the final, and then once we got into film prints, he would have to approve. There's multiple kinds of film where you write. I'm trying to explain. Well, you basically have like a master, and then from the master you make copies. And so you have to, once you have a final developed master, then you have to make copies of that so that then those can be used to then make film copies. And David Miscavige would have to approve each one of those steps until it got to the final production. And then for a long time, and the only reason I know a lot of this is because my job at Golden Era Productions for many years was quality control. And the whole purpose of my post was so that he didn't have to approve so many different things. But the only thing I would check would be like the cassettes that were coming off the production lines after he'd already approved all the masters. And I would have to compare the copies to the master that he approved. And we would do what's called an A-B. And I would have to put a cassette in, put another, a master tape on, and then I have to play the master tape and then play like if it said if L. Ron Hubbard said, "Welcome to the Congress," whatever, then the master would say, "Welcome to the Congress," and then I would play the cassette tape and say, "Welcome to the Congress," and then I would flip. I would just switch between the sources and listen to 3 seconds, and then listen to 3 seconds, and then compare them to make sure that their audio quality, they're exactly the same. So, but if you, that was just for one area that he had to approve all those things. That's just for cine. He had the same thing for audio. He had the same thing for the compilations, the guys that are putting together the magazines or the books or the promotion. So something like this, he would approve that, the script, and then he would probably not see it again until we'd shot it and edited it. And then he'd approve those ads as part of the whole campaign, which marketing. So we would shoot it, and then we would turn all of it over to marketing, and then marketing would say, okay, we've done this, these are the ads we want to run, this is where we want to run, where we want to run them, like what markets. And then they spent, I'm going to say they spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars running these ads. And usually what would happen is those ads would get played at an event. So they would say, oh, we're releasing this new book, New Slant on Life, and it's going to get all audited, or it's going to get all edited, and we're going to put out all these ads. And then what would happen is they'd show that at the event and say, these are going to run on TV. And then most of the time we would run them like in 1 or 2 markets so that we could say they ran on TV. And then they would never run again. And no one would ever buy a book from seeing that ad. And then, but we would have run them. So if somebody said, hey, did you guys run those things on TV? And be like, oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. But
so even from your perspective as the guy who was shooting these ads, in your opinion, the purpose of doing these ads was just to tell Scientologists these were running everywhere. The purpose wasn't to actually run them to sell books to grow Scientology.
Well, no, that was absolutely the purpose. But excuse me. But what would happen is that they wouldn't spend any more money after we'd run those ads, because we'd run them. I'm not the one who's approving the budget to pay for the ads, how many times they get aired. But I know for a fact that whenever we did run these ads, they usually didn't get that big of a like, it wasn't like we're making more on YouTube than they're making on those ads, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to make them run those things. It was a giant waste of time. And we did that all the time though at the base. Like we had an edict when we worked in manufacturing that we had to put out 50,000 cassettes every single week. We had to produce 50,000 cassettes a week for years. The sales guys weren't selling 50,000 a week. They were selling maybe 1,000 a week. So these things were stockpiling everywhere. And in the end, we ended up we probably threw away millions of cassettes, like just threw them in the garbage, because
crazy.
We had finally switched over to CDs after, everything in Scientology is about, depending on what it is, about 15 to 20 years behind the technology. So we were perfecting, like to the nth degree, cassette copying, and they were already moving from CDs to DVDs, and we were still on cassettes. And when we switched over to CDs, and we were perfecting the best quality CD that you could make, everything had already gone digital, and everybody was already downloading everything. So, and same thing, by the time we went to, when I first got to Golden Era Productions in 1990, they were still sending out Super 8 films, which is a kind of film that hasn't been around for about 40 or 50 years. and they were sending out cartridges with those, and we were phasing out of the Super 8s to 16 millimeter film when VHSs were already everywhere. So it was sort of like we were always playing catch up. And by the time, and even at the base, we built a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art film laboratory to be able to develop the film that was shot every day on. That was the most expensive part of the filmmaking process, was buying film and developing film. And so we could only buy the film from Kodak. But in order to develop the film, we had to send it to a lab in LA called Photochem. And Photochem was in Burbank. And Photochem charged Golden Era Productions millions and millions of dollars to develop film every day. The film that was used for the to show David Miscavige what we had shot, but then also to convert those things to the film masters and all that. But by the time they had built a film laboratory at the base for millions and millions of dollars and hired the best lab technicians to be able to tune all these machines, it took years and years. The building was millions of dollars. The equipment was millions of dollars. By the time that film laboratory was tweaked to the nth degree and all awesome, everything moved to digital. And there was no reason. They shot on digital. It was all, the post-production was all digital. There was no reason to have that lab. So I'm pretty sure Scientology is probably working on how to get all of the entire library of Scientology onto an iPod or something right now.
It's so funny. I mean, with David Miscavige's and L. Ron Hubbard's ability to have full recall on the whole track, you think Scientology would be on the cutting edge of these technology developments, but they are on the trailing edge.
Well, yeah, and usually what it is that, excuse me, it's always that the quality is not good enough. Like, oh, cassette quality is not good enough. We have to make it better. And so everything in Scientology has to be the best. So, but by the time they get to the best, then that technology is now obsolete. And now it's like you just spent 15 years perfecting a technology which is now obsolete. So it's time to move to the next.
So the one thing that Scientology does seem to have done good on, technically speaking, is the film restoration technology, I understand, or film restoration, or is it the audio restoring old crappy stuff and bringing it modern? I understand that's one area they've done. They've actually been an industry leader in.
It's probably the audio. And what they and there's like just a few little things that they do, and they also have the unlimited time and resources. So that's
the other thing.
If you have millions,
it might look like they're better than they are because they have unlimited man hours to throw at it.
Yeah, and also they have, and this is a good point that you bring up, is that they were good at restoring audio and also old audio that was recorded in an inferior fashion or on an inferior medium. So L. Ron Hubbard recorded thousands and thousands of lectures, and he considered himself a master audio engineer and a master mixer and recordist and all these things. And you're like, well, then why did all your recordings sound like shit? And why did we have to become experts in restoring them? If you were so good at recording them in the first place, why are they all shit?
That's true.
So we literally had to go through, and the way they did it was they would just get whatever recorder that L. Ron Hubbard recorded it on, that is the device that we would calibrate to play it back on. And then that would give the most accurate representation of what was originally recorded. And then they have all these other technologies which are sort of standard, but they not trademarked them. What's it called when you a patent? They applied for patents on a lot of these things. So like David Miscavige has a patent for a microphone cage, which is, it's a microphone that clips to your shirt, but it has a little cage around it. So if your clothes or anything rustles up against the cage and not the microphone inside the cage.
Brilliant.
And if you look it up, David Miscavige and I think another guy named Nick Kinsella, who was the guy who did record audio for me when I was on the set. And also Nick Kinsella is the guy who does the intro for the lectures. So when you listen to an L. Ron Hubbard,
Oh, that guy.
says,
wow.
And the guy says, this
Copyright.
lecture is 47 minutes long. This was recorded by L. Ron Hubbard.
This is a lecture given by L. Ron Hubbard on the 14th of April, 1968. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, whatever, is a violation of applicable law. This lecture is 42 minutes long. That's exactly what he's. I've listened to it thousands of times.
That's the guy. So Nick Kinsella is the guy who would do that, and he was also the guy who recorded the sound. He was the there was two sound guys. There was a guy who held the microphone, the boom mic, and that was called the what was he called? I can't remember the name for it. Whatever we called him.
Mark, just whatever mic you have, just try to pull it a little closer to your mouth, and I'm going to pull mine a little further away. I can't tell a difference, but people in the comments keep saying there's a difference.
Okay, how about that?
Oh, that's much better. Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
All right.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just a new setup, so I got to.
This is Scientology After Dark.
Yeah. Hey there. Hey there. You want to know about audio? I can tell you about audio. Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. I was driving. I had to bring a whole bunch of equipment and tools, so I had a trailer and a truck, and I downloaded a bunch of videos. And I was listening to that video that we did. I can't remember which one it was.
The holding hands on the bus?
Yes, the holding hands on the bus video. Oh, that was so funny. So funny. Yes, I am in a hotel room, Denver Steve-O. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, okay, good. Well, at least we know I got to put the keyboard in front of, behind the microphone and the microphone all the way up. There you go. Sorry about that, guys.
Indeed.
Yeah, Nick Kinsella. Oh yeah. So he was the guy who ran the recorders, and the kid with the boom mic would be the one that would mic the actors and hold the mic over whoever was talking and all that good stuff. But yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, all of that stuff that we did. And I did literally find out we were talking about orientation, and if they had reshot that. And they didn't actually reshoot the orientation film, because the orientation film is a legal requirement that you have to watch. A new Scientologist has to watch that, because once they watch that, then they sign these agreements. That's when you sign all those agreements to say, I'm not going to sue Scientology, is right after you watch that film. They say, we want you to understand that you've watched this film, and if you do anything in Scientology past this point, it's all your decision, and no one's convincing you to do this. You're doing it on your own. But the guy that was the main narrator that did the whole film, he's sort of like this on-screen commentator that leads you through the film. His name was Larry Anderson, and he left from Scientology and became a declared suppressive person. So they cut out all of the on-screen footage of him, and they just made it as a voiceover. And yeah. So the movie still goes, still is pretty much the same, except for they replaced anybody that was declared a suppressive person, and then they got him off of there and they replaced it with a voiceover, just another voiceover actor. But they also took out that part where it says, because in that film at the very end, he's like, you could blow your brains off or drive off a cliff. That's your decision. But if you decide to join Scientology, you'll be really glad you did, or something like that. So they cut out the blown out your brains part.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That was one of the most ridiculous parts of the film. So it's good to see him doing that real quick. Okay, real quick. Let me just address a couple of things here. So Churros OC says DM brings on a whole new level of micromanagement, nano-management. Yes. The new era of nano-management is exactly what
we only listed out in my book. I think I listed out like I just free stream like every single thing that I knew he had to approve, and it's like 150 things long that he had to approve on a regular basis.
Yeah. And for no other reason other than the fact that he puts himself in that position. He says he has to have full approval. There's no reason for it. Otherwise, I mean, someone could say, what would he do all day if he didn't make himself the final approval point on all these things? It's sort of like he has to justify his existence. Someone says that explain. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that explains why it's so crap. Yeah. David Miscavige micromanaged the entire process of producing the movie, The Battlefield Earth, that John Travolta was in, Battlefield Earth. David Miscavige had his hands in that from before they hired anybody to the premiere. He was there every single step of the way. And he did say it was the best movie ever made in the history of man.
Until it came out. It came out, right?
Yeah, well,
until Tom said he didn't like it.
Well, Tom Cruise called him and said, we're way in. So he said, what the fuck with this Battlefield Earth? And David Miscavige, after just telling us it's the best movie that's ever been made, he goes, I know John Travolta, that cocksucker. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Kate Bly says, isn't everything Scientology does a giant waste of time?
Yeah, pretty much. But I thought we were doing something that was going to have some longevity. It was going to be in one of those time capsules. No, it didn't end up in the time capsule.
Mark and Aaron, ASMR for the win. Oh, yeah.
That's when I got the solo 2D assist hatting.
Get the baby oil.
Get the baby. Oh, my goodness. Tom was just mad he wasn't in it. Oh, my goodness.
Stephen Britton says, Jason Beghe played an awesome Reardon in Atlas Shrugged Part 2. I tried watching that on TV, and the production quality of that TV production was so distracting to me. I don't know what it was. It felt like a fake. It felt like I was watching a Mexican novella or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Where
I think they skimped it on the effects on that movie. There's a few things in there where you're just like the green screens, and there was a few other even lighting and sets, and you're like. It was that was before his Chicago PD days.
It's true. That was before he was actually a bona fide TV star. Churzo C, love the shirt. Is that the dark blue one you were talking about? No. This is one I had in the vault or the archive. This is the archive wardrobe. The new blue shirt that I haven't worn yet. I'm going to debut it tomorrow. So that one's called Whole Track Suppression Blue. The other one was just SP Blue. Let's see. Cat ACDC. I think this is directed to me. You asked for the picture because you were curious which Hollywood Boulevard org my granddaughter was standing in front of. Could you tell? Yes. So a Cat ACDC fan sent me a picture of her daughter standing in front of the test center on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, the Hollywood Inn.
The HI. They call it the HI. They also just call it the test center, right?
Yeah, test center or HI is usually the Holiday. It used to be a Holiday Inn a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay, here's a funny one, a throwback question here. Maisie Barnett wants to know, Mark and Aaron, did you ever give your kids the command, make that body lie flat? I find that so funny. So when my little brother was young, we, the family, my mom mostly, but I remember having to do it as well. The assist was you make your body lie in that, either you make your body lie in that bed or you make your body lie in that crib. Did you ever have to get anything like that?
I was 6 when my mom got in. So I think I was past the, I think I might've been past, I just don't remember that. That sounds like ridiculously insane to tell a screaming baby, you lie flat in that bed.
So what it is when they won't go to sleep. They're trying to put him down to bed and they won't go to sleep.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. You make your body lie in that bed. You make your body lie in that bed. God, I totally forgot about that.
Gosh, that's ridiculous.
And you're basically just supposed to keep doing it until they sort of just fall asleep. So in other words, they would fall asleep eventually if you just let them cry themselves out, which we would never do with our kids. I could never do that. I was, I could never let the baby just cry themselves to sleep. I didn't have the heart to, I had too much heart is what I'm saying. But if you let the baby scream, eventually it's going to fall asleep. So essentially you're wasting now 2 people's time because now you're just standing there. And instead of picking the baby up to comfort it, you're just going, you make that body lie in that bed. Thank you. You make that body lie in that
Oh,
bed.
and you just say it over and over
Thank you.
until they fall
Yeah,
asleep.
just like you're doing the unconscious person assist, and you're acknowledging them even though they're not able to comply. Crazy, right?
That's ridiculous. There's so many ridiculous. The worst one is that barley formula.
So
did you ever take the barley formula?
Well, they would make the barley formula for my little brother, but we would have to eat the cooked barley for breakfast, which sounds kind of gross, but if you put enough syrup in it and sugar and milk, it's actually pretty good.
I was going to say, you put brown sugar in anything, that rice puffs, whatever all the healthy foods that they served up in Scientology land, you put enough brown sugar in it, it'll taste okay.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Guy Patrick says, have you guys ever seen The Prophet, the movie the church got banned in the U.S.? Oh, The Prophet, was that about L. Ron Hubbard?
I think so. I don't know. I think that was banned when we were in, so I've never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it or I've never watched it.
I do question whether Scientology would ever have been able to successfully get a film banned in the United States. Have you heard of that?
I think they just made it so they couldn't play it.
Maybe they just like threatened the distributor.
Yeah. Which they do that all the time with books and other things. Or they used to do it with books and other things. But
Totally. Okay, hold on. Ben Turner says, I don't buy it. Aaron is a deep fake. Everyone knows ASL can't wear color. He will break out or some such. Keep doing this deep fake, Aaron. And I'm telling CH, you promised her a pony.
Who's CH?
That's got to be Claire Headley, I'm guessing.
But why would you promise her a pony?
I don't know.
What is going on?
I don't get it.
I did see a video when I was driving here. I think you were wearing like a baby blue shirt.
That was just yesterday. That was just yesterday.
I was like, whoa, look at Aaron. What is he doing this for?
Yeah, I actually, and
Easter
just today,
shirts.
I ordered 3 more colored shirts, like yellow and orange and purple, because I'm just going to mix it up a little bit, add some spice to the videos. Okay, another one here. Hey, Aaron, nice shirt. Hope you didn't get birthday cake stain on the other one. OnlyFans. Oh, I can't say that word. Just for fans, Scientology After Dark. Well, yeah, birthday cake. I don't know. I feel like that's a joke I'm not getting. I mean, it's not my birthday. It's not my birthday. Okay, we got a super sticker there. And what's this? Hey, Mark, what state are you in? OOPs, never mind. I'll ask Osa.
Never mind. I'll ask Osa. Yeah.
Oops, never mind. I'll ask Osa. What state is Mark in? But you see, you didn't fly, so Osa doesn't actually know what state you're in.
Yeah, unless they have trackers on my car, which that's not unlikely either. They could put a little GPS there.
Have you ever gone under your car to see if they have an AirTag, like an Apple AirTag or whatever the heck they call them these days?
Well, yeah, but if an AirTag's following you around, it'll tell you. Your phone will tell you if somebody's AirTag that's not yours is following you around.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it'll tell you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I've had a few.
Wow, how about that? Oh, just for the record, it's pronounced Chris-O-C. Oh, there you go. Chris-O-C comes from my name Chris. although I LOL every time Mike Rinder calls me Cheers.
Cheers, OC.
Cheers, OC. Mark, you got it right once, like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Chris OC. Okay, I'll remember that from now on. I'll remember that.
Just say Chris.
Here we go. By the way, there's something I'm hearing a slight echo of me, and it's not coming from me. Do you hear an echo of me?
No.
Okay, then forget it. Are you still doing Aaron and Mike and Mark tomorrow? Yes, we are. Yeah. I have a question, but I don't remember what it was.
You just have to remember by tomorrow.
Also, I will never understand first-generation Scientologists. Oh, woof.
Well, there are some out there. We've been interviewing. Claire's been interviewing them on our channel. And, the other thing was we had talked about it in a video about Janice Gillam's mom.
Yeah.
And if she and Hubbard got it on the Apollo. Do you remember that?
I do.
Janice is the daughter of Yvonne Gillam. Janice Gillam, Grady, whatever. She said her mom and Hubbard never got it on. Hubbard made advances towards her, and then she left and didn't work at the place anymore.
Well, that's what you get for talking about other people's mamas.
Yeah, but the best part is that when she went, the mom was with the kids on the ship, on the Apollo. And then she got sent to LA to do the Celebrity Center stuff. And the kids didn't go with her. And she petitioned over and over and over again to have the kids come. And Hubbard said, no, I'm keeping the kids.
I know. It's
You
crazy.
do that.
Crazy. Okay, let's see. Alex says a Scientology ad was banned in the UK for false stats once.
I believe it.
That does make sense. I do believe that. Kat and Maggie. Man, I'm kind of bummed that we seem to have bullied Aaron into new shirts. No. It was, I'm trying to remember what made me just recently decide to, I'm going to keep wearing black shirts. I'm just going to sprinkle in the color every now and then. So
people will think I try to wear different shirts because people think it's a different video.
See, that's a good point. That's a good point.
They see the same exact shirt in every single video, and they'll be like, I already saw that one. But if you had a different shirt, they'll be like, oh, no, I don't think I've seen this one.
All right, Mr. Guy Patrick asks, what is your craziest on-set story when shooting something for Scientology?
Are you ready?
Is it the Grant Cardone story?
No, that's not
okay, go ahead. All right, what's the craziest?
Okay, I have two. Let me pick which one is the best. Okay. We were shooting. We had to shoot. There's a movie where we shot this kid named Johnny Lewis. Johnny Lewis is famous because he's an actor. He grew up in Scientology. He was a Scientologist. His mother and father were Scientologists. His whole family were Scientologists. He was in a movie where he is a kid on a faraway planet, but he used to be a Scientologist in his last life on Earth. Right. And when he was reincarnated on this other planet, he had to recall all the Scientology from his last life that he learned, and then he had to teach an entire planet how to do Scientology just from memory.
And this was the film with Isaac Hayes in it as well, right?
Yes, Isaac Hayes. It was called
TRs for Life. TRs in Life.
It was called TR5 YTRs.
YTRs.
And the reason for TRs is so that you can remember and teach a whole planet. That was kind of the moral of the story. Anyway, for that movie, took place on another planet, like a rocky. It was kind of like Mars, but but they had clothes, so there were no houses or anything. They were just walking around and sitting in sand and rocks and stuff. But they had clothes on and they had chairs. Somehow they could do auditing. They had e-meters, but they're on like Mars. Jefferson Hawkins was in TR5. This is true. Okay. Anyway, so for that movie, we had to shoot one of these other videos, a trailer or an ad for that movie. And what we did was we were going to show all these people in a caravan through the desert and walking through the desert in like windstorm and going through the desert, and this kid is leading them somewhere so he can then teach them about Scientology and everything. Okay. So that's the premise. We're going to shoot this ad and we're going to have all these people going through the desert. Well, we had already shot the TR5 film months and months and months ago. That set was gone and we already had all new sets, but now we need to shoot this ad. So we're going to go shoot this ad in a place called Brawley, California. And Brawley, California is where they have all these sand dunes. It's in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, California desert. And they have sand dunes and the dune buggies and ATVs and all that nonsense is happening out there. And the director says that that's where he wants to shoot this scene. And the director, I want to say Mitch Brisker, who was this hired director, he was a Scientologist, but he worked with Golden Era Productions and he was paid as a professional director to oversee the production of these films. And he is the one who would write the report each day that would go to David Miscavige to get the shots approved. The director, this guy that was not in the Sea Org. Anyway, so he wants to shoot in the desert with all these people. Well, the first part of this story where it goes out of control is that we usually get a whole bunch of people from the base for these shots, but the talent department can only get like 5 people from the base. So you can't have a caravan of like a whole tribe or village of people with 5 people. That's not enough people to constitute a proper caravan in the middle of the desert. So the talent department went to Brawley, this nearby town that we were shooting just outside of in the dunes, and they rounded up talent. The way they rounded up these talent was they went into a senior retirement home and they told these people that were in the break room, they said that if they wanted to be in a TV ad, that they could just get in this bus right outside and they'd be in a TV ad. They filled up this giant, like a 48 passenger, like a tour bus with these old people. They had oxygen tanks, they had walkers, they had it all. And they went and they filled this bus up. And we're setting up in the middle of the desert. We're setting up in the middle of the desert with camera. And also, the desert is the one location that you do not want to have camera equipment and batteries and lights. And that's not, sand and these things don't mix. But we had to do this. But we're setting up. We got all this equipment. And we see this bus pull up. And we see, I mean, I myself almost had a heart attack when I saw these people getting off the bus, because I'm like, you know, we're going to shoot a caravan. Like, these people are going to walk about 10 miles into the desert. I don't know if you've been walking in sand lately, but it ain't the easiest to walk in. With a walker or not, it's not that easy to walk in. And also, these people got oxygen tanks. I'm not sure how that's going to work either. Anyway, somehow, some way, they put enough rags and blankets over these people. You couldn't see any walkers and you couldn't see any oxygen tanks. And they marched these old folks out into the middle of this desert. And I told the gals that they better bring, like, they bring 48 old people out there. They better bring 48 old people back, because we can't do that. Okay, so that's how this starts. Now, the director guy, he's like, we can't shoot over there because there's dune buggy tracks everywhere. And so there's a highway that runs through the dunes. And on one side of the highway is where you can drive all your dune buggies on the dunes and everything else. And on the other side, it's pristine. There's not a track for miles. And the reason is because it's protected land. There's Bureau of Land Management signs on the side of the road that says, no trespassing, this is protected land, you can't shoot here, da-da-da-da-da. And you can't also drive dune buggies. You can't do anything. This side's pristine, this side dune buggies. So we go and back and forth on the road a little bit to see if there's any area where there's not a sign that says this is protected land. To see, oh, we'll just shoot in that area because there's no sign there. Anyway, we pull up and there is a sign, but I can't read it because there's wind and there's sand and everything. And we pull up to the sign and we actually hit the sign and knock it over. And then we say, this is where we're going to shoot. And we parked the truck over the sign that had fallen over on the side of the road. We parked the truck right on top of that sign. And then we start shooting. And all these old people and the director and the camera crew and the lighting guys, they all kind of walk off into the sunset over into the desert. And then as they're just getting over there, I have a radio and I'm getting the talent and sending them, and I'm kind of coordinating everything. And that's my job. I'm the shoot crew chief, or like the first assistant director in the real world. And so I'm kind of organizing everything, and they're going off to shoot the shots. As soon as the last few elderly folks disappear over the horizon into the middle of the desert, wherever they're shooting, I can't see them. I just see dunes, and they're gone. Everybody's gone. And I'm there by myself pretty much. I might have had one or two other crew with me. And this police car drives up, lights us up. And he sees all the production trucks and everything. And I'm just standing there. And he goes, what are you guys doing? And we're like, oh, we're shooting a thing. We got a permit, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And I show him the permit. He goes, okay. He goes, yeah, you're supposed to be on that side, not not that side. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me see if I can get a hold of these guys and I'll get them to come back. And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, you're going to jail. You're shooting on the protected land. You're going to jail. And so I'm like, well, dude, we'll move over there. It's not a problem. And we've already been shooting. I mean, they've been shooting shots since we got there in the morning. And as these more and more old people are showing up, they're kind of getting more and more shots with those people. So they've been shooting and shooting for hours. And so I radio them and I say, hey guys, we got to wrap it up. And we have sort of a agreed upon thing that we're going to shoot until we get all the shots. But I'm going to tell you that we're wrapping it up. We got to wrap it up. So you know to say, okay, we're just going to pack everything up. We'll head your way as soon as we got all the equipment. And then meanwhile, come on, we got to shoot. We got to shoot. We got to shoot. Crew chief's in the back of a cop car. And so they finish all the shots as I'm sitting in the back of a cop car. Like, I'm in the back. I'm not in cuffs. I don't think this time I got put in cuffs. There was another time. It was going to be this time or the other time. The other time I was definitely in cuffs. And we did a lot of guerrilla shooting, which is where you don't shoot with a permit. You just go and set up and start rocking and rolling. And when the cops come, you're like, oh, I think the permit's in the truck. And anyway, but this time we did actually have a permit. It just wasn't for where we were shooting. But in the end, they did get all the shots. The old people did all make it back to the old folks' home. I did not get arrested. And at the end of the day, because it went so well and I didn't end up getting arrested, I took all the rest of the money I had, the logistics money for gas and everything, and we went all out. And everybody got a slice of Shakey's pizza. It was like, I was like the king of the Sea Org for the day because I bought everybody pizza.
That's amazing.
Anyway, but yeah, there were many times where law enforcement shut us down while we were shooting because we were doing something we shouldn't have been doing in the place we shouldn't have been doing it.
That's a great story. All right, Hopper asks, Aaron, how many of your neighbors called the cops about the SPI, the stalker? Probably the police have been called on this guy. It's not just one guy; it's like 3 different guys. Probably 3 or 4 times. And that's
they've actually called the police.
Oh yeah, well, because the guy, you just have a strange, old, fat, middle-aged man sitting in a car outside of a neighbor's house, all day. Eventually, the police, this has been going on for like 6 months, Mark. I found out
just sitting there.
Yeah, well, they'll sit there. Well, as opposed to what else?
Well,
they'll drive by, they'll sit there, they'll leave, they'll come back. But when my neighbor, I'm thinking of one in particular, is like a single middle-aged woman living by herself, and every morning she wakes up and there's a guy sitting alone in his car by the curb of her house. Like she's called the police herself on these people several times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scientology. The other thing, I was talking about this with somebody today. They cannot help themselves but to create more content for us on a full-time basis. It's just there. Like, we can't not cover it, right? We can't not show what they do instead of just, and then they pay us to show it even. I mean, they're really going crazy on this YouTube thing somehow.
Yeah, they are. And within an hour of me publishing those videos, I'd been contacted by people who know the guy personally. I have his cell number. I have his home address. I have everything.
PI that was outside your house.
Yeah. He lives in Palm Harbor. He lives 20 minutes north of me.
No.
Yeah, he's a local guy.
Oh, he's just a PI for hire kind of guy that they just scooped up.
That's right.
That's the worst.
It was a rental car, though. It was not his car. It was a rental car, which is what you expect. But the registration sticker did look like it was a personally owned car. Usually car rental companies will have some sort of registration sticker that sort of never expires. It doesn't look like a normal registration sticker with an expiration date. The other PIs that have been spotted, when I get photographs of those cars, they have registration stickers that are very obviously from rental car companies. This guy's truck looked like it was a personally owned vehicle, but it's not. It's a rental. It's a rental, nice. Part of a rental fleet. So anyhow, haven't seen anybody yet. But I have new measures in place to have even more fun with whatever poor Scientology PI gets assigned to the AA run beat in Clearwater, Florida. Yeah, it's going to get real fun. Okay, so let's see. Eat More Pizza says the SPTV need to get matching salmon colored shirts.
I'm not wearing salmon. That's not happening.
I can rock salmon. I'll wear enough salmon for all of us. How about that? Okay, Scrap Booker. Didn't you have a birthday party to go to yesterday? Hence the cake stain comment. Yes, and actually it was Mike Rinder's birthday party that we went to yesterday. Plenty of cake, but no cake stains. Thank goodness. Okay, this is a comment I wanted to from Chris OC. When Mark and Claire were running TR0 Bullbait last week, I was LMAOing. Mark, what cracked me up is that it showed the difference. And what cracked me up is you were trying to make Claire think that she was doing things wrong. And yet you said TR4 Bullbait. There is no such thing as TR4 Bullbait.
I said TR0 Bullbait.
No.
Yes, she said TR4.
No. Well, go back to the tape.
I thought it was TR0 Bullbait, and she said no. We were doing TR4.
TR4. But then you said. But then you were saying TR4 Bullbait start.
Oh, okay. Maybe I might have done that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Either way. It's been a while since I did it.
I know.
To be fair, and also that I don't remember, I take as a compliment. that some of that nonsense is wearing off. I still know I was doing I think I was doing a podcast with somebody or somebody else's show, and I could recite the quality control mantra for my post. I could recite it from memory. I was like, oh gosh, I thought I forgot that.
Yeah. Okay. Two last comments and then we'll wrap it up here. Aaron, see if you can get that PI's license revoked. Karma. So technically the PI is not doing anything wrong. They're doing the job of the PI. Now there has been some inappropriate conduct. Like they've started to sort of troll my neighbors, waving to her, saying her name, doing drive-bys. Like, they're not there for her. But she's the one that calls the police on them because for some reason they always park outside her house, probably because the street gets a little narrower as you get closer to my house. That's just a little more dangerous for them to park on my half of. My street is bisected by one street. They park on the side of the street opposite of where it's bisected.
Okay.
So they're like half a block down from my house. If they were to park closer to my house, that would actually be much worse for them, to be honest. So anyway, I can't get the license revoked because he's not doing anything wrong from a PI standpoint.
They're that's their job. It's kind of like, well, I don't think they're supposed to be undercover. It's supposed to be a noisy investigation or whatever.
Yeah, and that's this one. Vincent giggles. What a lame PI, can't even keep himself undercover. Yeah, PIs aren't doing undercover work. They're not spies. They're just PIs.
Yeah,
they're
just there for Aaron to know that they're there.
Well, actually, Mark, did you hear Mike's answer to the question I asked him of why would they be on me but not you guys? And he said it's just like back in the day when the Lisa McPherson Trust was operating and Bob Minton was in Clearwater. Miscavige, before he would travel from one building to another building or the hacienda to the base, would call OSA and say, "Where's Bob Minton?" And if they couldn't tell him exactly where Bob is, Miscavige wouldn't travel until they could tell him where he was.
I believe that.
And Mike said that's what it is because you're so close to the hacienda, you're so close to Flag. Miscavige doesn't want to be ambushed by you again. And
you were the one that saw him the last time he had gone on a little outing.
I chased him in his car all the way from the hacienda to the Flag building a few years ago. And
I know. When you told me that story, I was like, oh, that is not a good thing to do.
Well, and that was before I was, publishing regularly to YouTube. Now, if I did it again, it would be on the internet.
Oh, and you'd have a camera for that. You would do nonsense.
100%.
You'd be driving with your foot, with your camera.
Yeah. Hey. So anyway, this was a good test. I mean, your setup is the quality on this setup you got right there is just as good as the one at home.
Awesome. Well, we'll see. Hopefully the internet seems fine for now. So
you're not even hardwired right now?
No, dude. I'm on my phone. Using my phone's internet.
You're using your wait. So you're using your phone as your camera, but also as a hotspot?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the quality's been spectacular.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully,
That's really good news. All right, everybody. Well, this has been an impromptu Sunday evening chat, starting with a commercial and ending God knows where.
Oh, how do we do, if we do the video simulcast, how do we do the end video?
What end
Does
video?
your end video go on everybody's end video?
Yeah. The outro will go on everyone's. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's okay. It's a good outro. That's not just specific to my channel, kind of.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. We just have to, well, do you even put things up on the video when she says click here? There's nothing there. There's no button for you to really click on.
Well, the normal end screen buttons pop up, but not where she's putting her finger. She's just, yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us. And thanks everybody who watches until the very end. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If